What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel, Wealth Hacker Labs. I'm your gracious host, Jeff Rose. Just give you another TGIF. Thank goodness it's Friday update. Many of you have received your economic stimulus check. Many of you still are waiting. And the fact that you're still waiting just boggles my mind because we've got people that shouldn't have got them. You know, we've got people that are deceased that are getting checks. And now the IRS is demanding that those checks be sent back. So they're worried about getting deceased checks back, but yet many of you are still waiting, and my heart goes out to you. Now, if you're new to the channel, you may have missed that we have given some updates on other potential secondary economic stimulus checks, and these are proposed in the form of different acts. Many of these have been proposed to Congress. None of these have passed, and with these, we had the Emergency Money for the People Act. We also had the Rent and Mortgage Cancellation Act, which was supposed to help out with rent and mortgage payments. And then we had the Getting America Back to Work Act. And many of these had some similarities, but typically what we saw in these acts was some sort of second economic stimulus payment. Some were getting a one-time payment of $2,000. Others were getting that recurring payment of $2,000, or the one that definitely seemed like the most popular was getting a $2,000 one-time payment and then a reoccurring payment of $1,000 up to 6 months, potentially even up to 1 year. Now, according to many of the comments here on the channel, many of you did not feel that any of these would pass because, you know, many of you are still waiting for that first payment to hit. You still haven't got that $1,200 payment. So the fact that you think that a second payment, a second economic stimulus package is going to pass, it just almost seems preposterous. Well, the one thing that we can all agree on is that data doesn't lie. And you can take a look at this report from Fox Business talking about, is another stimulus check necessary? The data doesn't lie. Now, I hope that you're okay that I'm using Fox Business as a source for this video. I know I've used CNN in the past, and man, many of you just do not like that I use CNN. My bad. So we're gonna use Fox Business this time. Let's see if I get some haters on that one. But if you look at some of the data of some of the surveys they've taken from people that have received this check, and here's going back to an April 22nd Money Morning Consulting survey, it said of 2,200 people, approximately 74% expect their check to last a month or less. And this includes a combined 22% who claimed to have already spent their economic impact payment. So they got their $1,200 and it's already gone. Or who believe it will last less than 1 week, as well as 24% who believe it's less than 2 weeks. In other words, half the respondents don't expect their check to make a difference beyond the 14-day mark. And I think many of you can relate to this. I know many of you that haven't received that first check, like once you get that check, like the money's already spoken for. Like you've got rent to pay, you've got bills to pay, you got mouths to feed, and you're still waiting to get that check just to get all your bills in order so that you know that money is already spent, it's already called for. The Emergency Money for the People Act. So this was the act that was initially proposed by Ro Khanna and Tim Ryan. And this was the act that would give you a $2,000 payment per individual per household. So if you have a spouse, each of you receive $2,000 each, up to 3 dependents. So you could receive anywhere from $4,000 on up to $5,500. So that was a good chunk. That was just a one-time payment. And then there would be a recurring payment up to 1 year potentially of $1,000 per month. So that was the package that most people were really excited about. And there have been some other acts that have been proposed, but just today, there has been another act proposed, and this one comes from probably the most popular name that you're going to recognize is the man Bernie Sanders. That's right, good old Bernie. Weekend of Bernie, he's still alive, still putting out acts, still proposals, and here is what his act has to say. So the name of this act is the Monthly Economic Crisis Support Act. I guess we can call it MECS for short. Always have to have these fancy little acronyms, fancy abbreviations. So in addition to Bernie Sanders, we also have Senator Kamala Harris and Ed Markey. So they're also putting their name on this act and are providing this to Congress as a monthly stimulus payment option. And if you want to take a look of this act, so you can actually go to Politico, and I'll have a link in the show notes so you can actually look at this act and see what it's all about. But I'm gonna go ahead and just read what does it include? So what are they proposing that it includes? So looking over this act, it's similar to what we've seen in the other acts, except that we're not talking a one-time payment here. We're talking about a monthly payment. So eligible individuals would receive $2,000 per month or $4,000 per month for married filing joint, plus an additional $2,000 per month for each qualified dependent, up to a maximum of 3 dependents. So if you are a family of 5, I mean, you're talking about getting up to, that's a lot of money, $10,000 a month that they are proposing. So who would be eligible based off of this criteria here? So we got non-resident aliens, we have individuals who could be claimed as a dependent under Section 151, which we'll have more of that here in a second, and a state or a trust. Eligibility is also based on income, so they do have some income restrictions. This is a little bit different. So as it states here, that $200,000 in the case of a joint return, $150,000 of if you're a head of household, and $100,000 in the case the taxpayer is not described in some paragraph A or B. So basically, if you are single making over $100,000, then you would start to be phased out. So many of you would appreciate this as well. It says, how would payments be made? They say payments would be made via direct deposit when possible. I know many of you probably wish that you had direct deposit set up, or that the IRS would have had your right address or right banking information, because I know many of you had the right banking information, somehow they messed it up. I know that sucks, but I'm sorry about that. And then here's even more importantly, when would this take place? So this stimulus would, while being proposed in May, would be retroactive to March 1st, 2020, and would end 3 months after the end of the COVID-19 emergency as declared by the Secretary of Health and Human Services. So we're not talking about a 6-month minimum or a 1-year minimum. Basically, whenever the COVID-19 emergency is deemed like no longer an emergency, it would extend for 90 days after this. So here we have another act being proposed by Bernie, the 2 other senators here. We're looking at a monthly payment, $2,000 a month per individual, per household, up to 3 dependents, also $2,000. I had to reread that because $2,000 per month for each dependent as well. That's a lot of money. I mean, especially for a family of 5, that is definitely a lot of money. Now it does mention Section 151. I don't want to bore you with the details here, but I will have a link to all of these, the act, the articles, the Section 151 in the description, so that you can do your homework and read what this is all about. You know, and I'm sure many of you are like, okay, Jeff, is this really going to happen? Are they really going to propose it? Does anybody know? Really, nobody truly knows. I feel like, and I talked about this in a previous video, I feel like there is something else that's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be a monthly payment of any kind. I do suspect there will be a second economic stimulus payment. At minimum, I'm expecting at least just a one-time payment. So a secondary stimulus check that you should get, for many of you that are still waiting, probably not until the summer of 2021. But anyway, yeah, I am expecting some other check to happen. I'm not, you know, you want me to put my money where my mouth is. I really, you know, nobody truly knows, but based on how this thing is playing out, based on the fact that so many people are still struggling, that, you know, businesses are still opening slowly but surely, but there's so many that haven't, many people are still out of job, as all that data reported. A lot of that first check is gone. Like, it's gone. They've already spent it, and they didn't waste it on, I'm sure some of them did, but many of that money was already spoken for, and there's still many people that haven't received their check. So, I mean, people are still struggling, still hurting, and I just feel like that the infrastructure is there. They've got everything set up to be able to make a second payment. The process should be so much easier, and I guess we'll only find out that it truly happens. But that's my own personal opinion. I'm just a man recording YouTube videos here in my home while I'm being quarantined, trying to spend some good time with my family. So, all right, y'all, once again, I'm gonna provide all this information in the description. So if you wanna read, do your homework, see what you think, see how this compares to the previous acts that we've talked about that have been proposed by other members of Congress. And do you think that, does Bernie have the golden ticket? Does he have the act that's actually gonna take notice? Does he have the ability to push this thing through and to get money into Americans' hands so that we can just get our country back into some sort of normal capacity, whatever normal is. I mean, yeah, I don't even know what normal is anymore. I'm sure you don't either. But anyway, all right, y'all, hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe. Have a good weekend. This is Jeff Rose reminding you that it's your money, it's your life, and you can make it awesome. Till then, peace out.